Thanks for joining us for CBN News Today. I'm Ephraim Graham. A man tied to the white supremacist movement is accused of this weekend's killings at Jewish facilities in Kansas. The shootings took place on the eve of the Jewish Passover, which begins at sundown today. George Thomas has the details on the incident.
Authorities say the suspect is a 73-year-old man seen in this video captured by a local television crew as he was being handcuffed. His name is Glenn Miller and reportedly has a history of racist and anti-Semitic activity. He was heard shouting Heil Hitler moments after being put in the back of the police car.
The initial call came into our dispatch center at 1:03 p.m.
The chaos began Sunday afternoon in a suburb of Kansas City when Miller opened fire in the parking lot of this Jewish community center.
It was really scary. I mean, people are calling their loved ones, and I called my mom and she started crying, and then I started crying.
2 people were killed at the scene.
Several shots were fired at that location, and witnesses stated that the suspect left the location soon after.
His next target, a Jewish retirement home a couple of blocks down. Police say he was carrying a shotgun and handgun. 1 person was killed at the scene.
Today is a tragic shooting of 3 people that marks a sad day in the city of Overland Park.
Sunday's attack comes as anti-Semitic incidents have been on the decline here in the United States, although they've been rising in other parts of the world, especially in Europe. The Southern Poverty Law Center, which tracks hate groups, says Miller is a white supremacist and a former Grand Dragon of the KKK. He reportedly posted more than 12,000 times on the Vanguard News Network, whose slogan is "No Jews, just right." The Jewish Passover begins today, and authorities say it is too early to say whether the shootings were hate crimes.
Obviously, at 2 Jewish facilities, one might make that assumption, but we're going to have to know more about it before we'll label it.
President Obama called the shootings heartbreaking as prayer services were held in local churches to mourn the victims. George Thomas, CBN News.
Ukrainian troops and pro-Russian militia exchanged gunfire in the eastern Ukrainian city of Slovyansk on Sunday. It is the first report of open fighting between the 2 sides. According to an eyewitness, 4 gunmen in a car opened fire on Ukrainian troops on the side of the road. At least 1 soldier is dead. This city is one of several cities in the east where pro-Russian forces are occupying government buildings. A deadline for all protesters to evacuate those buildings expired this morning. Ukraine's acting president promised a large-scale anti-terrorist operation to retake control. Meanwhile, the Obama administration is promising tougher economic sanctions against Russia if it tries to take more parts of Ukraine. Search crews are sending a robotic submarine into the depths of the Indian Ocean, hoping to locate what could be the black boxes from the missing Malaysia airliner. The boxes contain flight data and cockpit voice recordings and could help explain what happened to Flight 370 when it disappeared with more than 200 people on board. The remote-control Bluefin 21 sub creates a 3D sonar map that charts the area's seafloor debris. Still, the sub has a lot of area to cover since search crews were not able to zero in on the exact location. So far, officials have not found a single piece of debris linked to the plane. The Pacific Gas and Electric Company is offering a $250,000 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction in the attack on a California substation last year. In April 2013, snipers unloaded on the Metcalf substation, then vanished before police arrived. The military-style attack blasted 17 giant transformers, which power parts of Silicon Valley. It resulted in more than $15 million in damage. The people responsible also cut fiber optic lines to knock out phone and 911 service in that area. AT&T is also offering its own $250,000 reward. Republicans in Congress are pushing the Obama administration to slow down its plan for the Internet. The White House is moving to give up the administration's control of the World Wide Web. Critics say that could be bad for free speech and even business around the world. Jennifer Wishon has the story now from Washington.
America has always been the main player in managing the World Wide Web. Even conservatives who typically want to limit the role of government say it's an example of Washington doing something well.
It's very relaxed control, which is why I think we've seen the internet grow to be an incredible voice of freedom, not just in the United States, but around the world.
In the late 90s, the Commerce Department formed a nonprofit agency called the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, or ICANN, which governs the system that assigns website addresses and directs internet traffic.
We're talking about every email, every time that you search something on Google. I mean, we're talking about every transaction.
Sure, every transaction.
But following Edward Snowden's revelations about America's spying activities, the Obama administration is feeling international pressure to give away the authority to direct web traffic. Even the head of ICANN says everyone with an interest in the internet deserves a voice in the management of it as equal partners. But the big question is, if the internet isn't in U.S. hands, whose hands do we trust? China and Russia are waiting in the wings to fill the vacuum if the U.S. cedes control, and there's a great fear that the internet will eventually wind up under the control of a UN organization called the International Telecommunications Union.
It's controlled by bad actors. In fact, they've now passed already a resolution through that will allow governments to shut off websites, and that won't be a violation of human rights.
Indeed, many critics worry if another country or countries take over managing the web, it could lead to the suppression of free speech and political dissent, possibly even hurting international business over the web.
Congress is considering two actions. One delays the transfer of control. Another requires congressional approval before the Obama administration can act. And there's bipartisan concern. Even former President Bill Clinton thinks the administration's plans are a bad idea.
A lot of people who've been trying to take this authority away from the United States wanted to do it for the sole purpose of cracking down on internet freedom and limiting it and having governments protect their backsides instead of empower their people.
Many Americans are also concerned. Nearly 120,000 people have signed this petition to keep the control of the internet in the land of the free. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
The president's pick to head the Department of Health and Human Services is coming under close scrutiny. Critics say she'll face the same logistical and political problems with Obamacare as her predecessor, Kathleen Sebelius, but she's not as qualified. The Senate will soon hold confirmation hearings for White House Budget Director Sylvia Matthews Burwell. The agency has a $1 trillion budget, but Obamacare alone presents a long list of challenges, like keeping premiums affordable, overhauling the sign-up process to make it user-friendly, and enforcing laws for the penalties for those who don't sign up. Some say the president's choice to lead the massive effort is not going to quiet the controversy. Instead, it's going to elevate concerns.
Burwell is an interesting choice, and I think there are many of us, and probably a bit of a growing consensus, that they know they've got a math problem with Obamacare, and the numbers are not going to work out so that the program is actuarially sound, and they're going to have somebody to kind of spin the numbers.
Burwell passed Senate confirmation 96-0 to run the budget office just last year. The top Democrat on the panel investigating the IRS political scandal is being accused of possibly playing a role in the scandal. Congressman Elijah Cummings has complained about Republicans investigating former IRS official Lois Lerner. Now, House Oversight Committee Chairman Darrell Issa has released evidence against Cummings. The new IRS emails show Cummings' staff may have coordinated with the IRS to go after a conservative group called True the Vote. It is one of the same groups targeted by Lois Lerner's IRS division. Issa says the IRS asked True the Vote for virtually identical information as what Cummings was seeking. Issa's letter to Cummings states this timeline and pattern of inquiries raises concerns that the IRS improperly shared protected taxpayer information with your staff. Cummings has defended his coordination with the IRS. Well, tomorrow is tax day. For many, it is one of the most stressful days of the year. If you're one of the millions still scrambling to file, the IRS may not be the best place to turn for help. But as John Waggy explains, there are some tax experts who are trying to make the process less painful.
Most of us are familiar with federal deductions such as moving expenses or charitable giving, including items like clothes and furniture. But the persistent filer can find some unusual ways to recoup what Uncle Sam has taken away, like deductions for shipping your pet across the country, or hot tubs for those who can get a doctor to sign off on their soaking needs, or the cost of music mouth therapy for someone who's been to the orthodontist.
A bodybuilder wanted to know if he could take posing oil as a legitimate business expense for his business, and in that set of circumstances, that was okay.
For others, relieving the tax burden is more serious. The IRS sends out more than 5 million of the dreaded 1099-C forms every year. The form is to declare the tax on forgiveness of debt. That means millions are paying taxes on income that doesn't exist. But on a recent 700 Club, Dan Pilla, author of the book How to Eliminate Taxes on Debt Forgiveness, said little-known rules allow for a way out.
The rule is if you are insolvent as of the day the debt is forgiven, then that cancellation of debt is not taxable income.
But Pilla says your creditors and the IRS won't tell you that, so you have to present your case to the government.
There's a tax form that people don't know about that you can put with your tax return. So if you get one of these 1099-Cs, as millions of people will do here, already have here for this filing season, there's a form you can put with your tax return that expresses what these exceptions are so that you don't get taxed on it.
As the tax code becomes increasingly complex and oppressive for those who pay taxes, it's more important than ever to have help in navigating the bureaucracy. John Waggy, CBN News.
Attorneys general from 19 states are trying to save a 4-story cross memorial honoring veterans in San Diego. They have asked the Supreme Court to rule that the 60-year-old memorial atop Mount Soledad doesn't violate the First Amendment. The American Civil Liberties Union and Jewish war veterans sued to remove the 43-foot structure, and in December, a judge ruled in their favor. The attorneys general are asking the Supreme Court to save the memorial and provide a clearer First Amendment test for lower federal courts to use in similar cases. Pro-life centers in New York City have been granted a temporary victory in an ongoing free speech battle. Back in January, a federal appeals court upheld part of a city law enforcing pregnancy centers to issue disclaimers on their signs, ads, and conversations with clients. The law was written by pro-abortion legislators and does not apply to abortion clinics. One judge on the panel opposed the law, saying it provides a blank check to New York City officials to harass or threaten legitimate activity. The American Center for Law and Justice reports the court has issued a stay, so pro-life clients won't face this free speech burden while their case is being appealed to the Supreme Court. Coming up, miraculous survival, how one victim of that Washington mudslide is giving God the glory.
You had a grandpa named Pop, right?
He died when I was your age.
I saw him in heaven.
What if an ordinary boy?
Is this him?
That's Pop.
Your son had a near-death experience.
Discovered the answer to life's most extraordinary question.
Do you think my son went to heaven?
He told me everything was all right.
Based on the incredible true story.
We all want to be supportive.
I want to believe him. But everything he talks about is impossible.
Will you believe?
You saw heaven? It's beautiful.
Heaven is for real. See it this Easter. Rated PG.
Hi, I'm Wayne Allen Root, former presidential candidate, conservative national media personality, best-selling author, and true blue patriot. I call what we're living in today the Great Depression 2. More Americans now receive government entitlements than work full-time. The typical family earns less today than in 1989. I understand exactly what's happening to this economy and how you could protect yourself. So I sat down and taped a 30-minute DVD on the topic with all the critical steps needed to ensure Americans can both survive and thrive in 2014. It's called The Timeless Truth About Money, and it's only available in this special TV offer by calling the number below or by visiting online. Thanks to Swiss America, you'll finally understand the true goal of Obamacare, how our trillions in debt will sink the economy, and most importantly, why your golden years require a whole new golden strategy. Call now.
Start planning your journey to the Holy Land. Come to Jerusalem. Breathe the air Jesus breathed that very night in the Garden of Gethsemane. Walk in his footsteps to Golgotha. Step inside the tomb. See the stone where his body lay. Glory to God, he is risen. Ask your pastor or visit goisrael.com. to learn more about making the journey that will transform your faith in God and His Word. Experience Israel. You'll never be the same.
Dozens are feared dead in a massive explosion that ripped through a bus station on the outskirts of Abuja, Nigeria this morning. It happened at about 7 o'clock as hundreds of people were making their way to work into the nation's capital. The blast ripped a hole 4 feet deep in the ground and destroyed more than 30 vehicles. The Islamic radical Boko Haram has waged a war against the Nigerian government in recent years, killing nearly 1,500 people. Raging fires continue sweeping through the Chilean city of Valparaiso. At least 12 people are dead, around 2,000 homes have been destroyed, and more than 10,000 people evacuated. Valparaiso sits on 42 hilltops, and 6 of them have been reduced to ashes. Chile's president has declared the entire city a disaster zone and put the military in charge. Firefighters are having trouble putting out the fires because of hot, dry winds. Authorities say the death toll is expected to rise. Back here at home, a young woman pulled from the wreckage of last month's deadly mudslide in Washington state is speaking out for the very first time. As Caitlin Burke reports, she says prayer helped her to hold on through the terrifying ordeal.
From her Seattle hospital room, 22-year-old Amanda Skorians can still visualize mud and debris rushing towards her and her infant son.
And then I looked out our front door, and it was like a movie. Houses were exploding, and the next thing I see is our neighbor's chimney coming into our front door.
Skorians was home with her 5-month-old son that Saturday morning. She says all she could do was hold on to him, wait for the earth to stop moving, and pray.
I know that God was with us because as it was going, I cried out to him and I said, please save us.
Her home slid about 600 feet before coming to a stop. Skorians and her son were trapped, but a pocket had formed around her, and she found herself cushioned by her broken couch and recliner. Still, she'd been severely injured. She distracted herself from the pain by praying and comforting her small son.
I would pat on his chest and I'd say, stay with me, bud.
Finally, she heard sirens. Rescuers were able to take her son from her arms and then use a chainsaw to free her from the debris. Today, Skorians and her son are healing from their physical injuries. He suffered a fractured skull, and she 2 crushed ankles, a fractured arm, and several injuries to her face. The emotional wounds, however, will take much longer to heal.
Oh, so is home, but I'll never go back.
Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
Up next, something is rotten in the state of Sweden. Whatever happened to the Sweden socialist paradise? Find out when we come back.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans. with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right. You could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
Conservative economic policies and a large liberal welfare state. Together they make what's known as the Swedish model. Some call it a success, but as Dale Hurd reports, others warn Sweden has a dark side, ruled by political correctness.
When President Obama visited Sweden last year, he expressed his admiration for the Swedish model. And that should make Americans nervous, because a United Nations report says Sweden will be a third world nation in about 15 years, below Libya and Bulgaria. Sweden is a society that believes it is racing into the future, but critics warn that it's racing to the bottom.
Welcome to Utopia, also known as Sweden. Sweden has been a laboratory of social experiments. Swedish leaders believe they're building the perfect society.
And Sweden has been compared to a couple of nations which also tried to build perfect societies, North Korea and the Soviet Union. If you don't like how Utopia is being built here, you won't be shot like in North Korea, but your life could become very unpleasant very quickly.
Hallå, hallå. Jimmy Fredriksson from Expressen.
Jimmy Fredriksson? Jaha du.
This is a journalist from one of Sweden's leading tabloids confronting a Swede at his home. The man, a professor, made what he thought were anonymous negative comments on a website about immigrant problems in Sweden. But left-wing hackers helped the newspaper track him down and others like him, so that they could be exposed before the whole nation as racist. This man, a manager, was fired because of it. Sweden's leftist establishment and media believe a cornerstone of their perfect society is multiculturalism, large-scale immigration from some of the poorest, most backward nations on earth. And Swedes who disagree with that plan risk being labeled racist, fascist, even Nazi.
The rules of the game in Sweden is to avoid being hostile to immigration. It's the most important point to prove that you're friendly towards foreigners, you're friendly towards immigration.
Danish journalist Mikael Jalving is author of the book Absolute Sweden.
It's all about whether or not you can be said to be hostile to immigration. Once that is proven, you're out of the game.
It doesn't matter if Sweden's immigration model is failing miserably, if test scores in Swedish schools are plummeting, or if crime in some areas has skyrocketed. Immigrants burned the Stockholm suburb of Husby for over a week last year. Many Jews now live in fear of attacks by Muslim immigrants and are leaving. This former journalist for Swedish radio left last year and returned to her native Somalia. She told Swedish television that Mogadishu was safer than the immigrant suburbs in Stockholm. And forget about an American-style melting pot in which immigrants will someday learn to become Swedish. That's a racist idea, too. Jalving says Swedes are supposed to learn from immigrants and not the other way around.
Assimilation is completely out of the question.
Who says assimilation is completely out of the question?
Everybody in all mainstream political parties and media and platforms would laugh about the word assimilation is a Nazi word in Sweden.
We talked to several journalists who described a Stalinist-style atmosphere in Sweden, in which citizens are now afraid of saying anything that might get them labeled in the media as racist.
They point at you and say you're a racist. Then you will have no career, no job, you might lose your family.
Swedish journalist Ingrid Carlqvist and Danish journalist Lars Hedegaard run the online newspaper Dispatch International, which covers issues like immigration that the mainstream media in Sweden ignores. But Carlqvist says their plan for a traditional newspaper failed because Swedes were too scared to have the paper delivered to their homes.
Because what if the mailman saw that you had this newspaper? What if your neighbors saw it? Then they might think that you are a racist or that you hate Muslims.
So we thought we could sort of make an impact
We still think we can, but it's tough going.
Dispatch International now hangs on through donations. Sweden has become a nation where some viewpoints are simply too risky to even read.
What wise Swedish parents do nowadays is to advise their kids not to interfere in the public discussion, not to express so-called radical ideas about this or that.
Because why? Why do they advise them?
Because they're afraid. Whether or not
that
this
their
is...
kids won't get work?
Yeah, it'll harm them.
That is a very bad situation, because you live then in a country where you cannot solve any problems. You cannot even mention the problems.
Hedegaard, a Dane, was nearly killed last year in Copenhagen by an immigrant who came to his door and fired a gun at him. Karlquist, a Swede, has decided to leave Sweden because of the persecution of those who dissent. Sweden is not going to become a third world nation tomorrow, but according to one report, one day it will.
We had a perfectly good country, a rich country, a nice country, and in a few years' time, that country will be gone.
Dale Hurd, CBN News, reporting from Sweden and Denmark.
Do you have an idea for an invention or a new product? Brian and Alice Jagosh, the inventors of the halftime drill driver, did. They invented a power drill attachment that lets you drill, flip, and drive in seconds. Brian and Alice licensed their invention to the company that brought you the Snuggie, and it's now selling in major retailers nationwide. Look for the Invent Help Caveman on the package. If you have an invention that you would like to try to patent and submit to companies for possible review and want free information on how Invent Help may be able to assist you, call now. Invent Help is America's largest inventor service company with sales offices in more than 60 cities nationwide. Call Invent Help today for free information. Our clients made a financial gain with their invention, but this is just their individual result. Brian and Alice's experience is not typical, as only a very small number of inventions are licensed or sold in stores.
For your free inventors information, call 1-800-559-8567. That's 1-800-559-8567.
If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
And finally today, pro golfer Bubba Watson took home his second Masters title in 3 years on Sunday. The 33-year-old is an outspoken Christian who even uses his Twitter account to share his faith in Jesus Christ. Watson told the Billy Graham organization that people always ask what makes him different. He said, "For me, it's just showing the light. There's people who want to put down Christians. I try to tell them Jesus loves you." Watson's 2-year-old adopted son, Caleb, greeted him at the 18th hole after his win. Congratulations to him. Well, that is going to do it now for CBN News Today. Remember, you can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. And take the time to tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Make it a marvelous Monday, everybody.
Inside every child is a hero, a leader, a friend to others, someone who helps out, who does the right thing, who dreams of what they can be, but they still need our help.
What should I do? What should I say? How should I feel?
That's where Superbook comes in. It provides moral and spiritual truths through situations children can relate to, teaching God's Word to the children you love. Join the Superbook DVD Club and receive Superbook's newest episodes as they're available, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25. Get Superbook today and watch the miracles happen.
Every day, people are connecting on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Now you can be part of the conversation and connect on topics you care about through 700 Club Interactive. Log on to Facebook, Twitter, or go to YouTube and share your opinions, your prayer requests, and your videos while making friends in our community.
Well, welcome to the show.
Join the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. 700 Club Interactive. Be a part of the show.